Hello! In this video I want to show you two different techniques for painting clouds, and these techniques are great for sketching or for nature journaling, so whenever you want to just lay down some clouds quickly. And I'll be showing two different kinds of clouds, and you'll be surprised how quick you can get realistic clouds when you paint. So I'll be using watercolor, which is a great medium for sketching. And I'll start by just laying down some water on my page. So this is clear water, and I'll just take a good amount of it. You don't want to drench the paper or have the water make little pools, but you want to spread the water as evenly as you can. If you're really pressed for time, then you can also leave out this step. It will work without wetting the paper before, but you'll get a more even coat of paint if you do this. And now we can start to add the paint. So I'll take my sky blue here, my cerulean blue, which is a really lovely bright blue. And depending on where you are or what season it is or even what time of the day, you might want to choose a different blue. So maybe a warmer blue like an ultramarine. And the effect I'm going for here is to have a really even blue rectangle. So try to spread the paint around until it looks really even and until you have paint everywhere. And the type of clouds that I'm going for here, I'll quickly show you, are these cirrus clouds. So these are high-level clouds. Usually they look sort of airy or wispy, and you can see really this is like what wind, you can see how the wind goes through these. And this is the effect I'm going for. So let's see how we can achieve this. I have a painting rag here, which is just an old piece of t-shirt really, and I'll crumple this up slightly, and as long as this is still wet, I'm trying to dab out the paint with my rag, and you can see this works really nicely. And if you feel you have too much paint on your rag, then simply take another piece and continue. You could also use paper towel for this. So this is one of the rare occasions when I like to use paper towel. I can also show you. So you could use this kind of paper towel and then start dabbing. It's a little bit more absorbent. And the key here is to keep these patterns or these patches slightly irregular. If you feel you need more paint, then just drop in a little bit more paint in a few places. And again, as long as the layer beneath is still wet, you can do this. You can see that the pigment here is helping me a little bit. So this cerulean blue has slight granulation, and what this means is if you look at these places, you can see it sort of pools and puddles in a few areas, and this is an effect that the pigment, the color, does all by itself. So a lot of blue watercolor pigments do this. And if you feel you have put down too much paint, then simply go back in and dab it up. And really watch what the sky is doing. So I have my little reference here, and you can see there are these sort of bands that go through the cloud. And I can try to include these. But with such a small sketch, you don't have to overwork it. So let's let this dry, and then continue to the second type of cloud that I will show you. And for this one, I want to paint these cumulus clouds. And these are low-level, good weather clouds that I'm sure you have seen lots of times. So these are your classic cloud shape, really. And what I'll try to do this time is paint around the clouds. So the first thing that I'll actually do is draw this little rectangle and then very lightly draw in the cloud shape. So with a few tricks you can get more realistic looking clouds. So actually clouds follow perspective rules and they are sort of three-dimensional. So everything you do has to sort of follow these perspective rules. Everything that's close to you, so clouds that are closer to you, will be bigger and more rounded, more detailed. And clouds that are further back and closer to the horizon will seem flatter and more compressed. And you actually don't see these clouds from the front, but from the side. So if you keep this in mind, then you'll have an easier time sketching clouds. And what I'm doing this time is I'm adding, just for fun, a little bit of ultramarine to my cerulean. I could also use ultramarine on its own. It's another very lovely blue. And what I'll do now is I'll simply outline my cloud shape here. One key thing to painting clouds is to keep them irregular. So don't try to make these sort of cartoonish cauliflower clouds. And if you want even softer edges, then you can use your brush with a little bit of water and then soften these edges. Not all of them, because you want some defined edges and some that are a little bit softer. You can also make these sort of scrubbing motions with your brush, and that will give you an effect that's a bit more irregular. And if you feel you need more paint, then pick up a little bit of pigment and just drop it in a few places. You can't really go wrong with watercolor because, as you can see, you can manipulate it very well. So you can pick it up in a few places or lift it out even. And it's really very versatile as a medium. So let's paint in the shadows for these clouds. We all know clouds are white, and so I've left the paper white in the places where the clouds sit. But if you look closely, you'll see that these clouds also have darker parts. These are actually the flat bottoms of the clouds and the parts that are a little bit thicker, so where the sunlight can't penetrate the cloud. And we will paint these in. So for this, I'll need slightly darker paint, and I'm using my gray here and just a little bit of magenta to add a touch of violet into it. And then I'll just drop in at the bottom of the cloud a little bit of this shadow. Again, you want to keep this irregular. Maybe make it a little bit darker in some places. And you could also, like I did here with the blue part, could also feather it out a little bit. And if you think you have put down too much, then you simply take your paper towel. This will also add a little bit more structure to the shadow. And we'll do the same thing for the clouds down here. And as you do this, it's helpful to think about these clouds as three-dimensional objects. So I know it's a little bit difficult because they seem so fluffy and so airy, but it's really, with all kind of sketching and painting, it's really helpful to think about every object as something that has a plane and that has different surfaces that point in different directions. So usually the darkest part is down here at the bottom. And then with these clouds that are farther away, I just make them a bit darker. And some of these can even have no white at all. Okay, I think I'm done with this. So another key factor for working on these quick sketches is to not overwork it. And I think I've done a good job here, and so I'll stop painting while it's still fun. You will notice that these techniques are really fun to do, and you will be tempted to go back in and dab a little bit more and work on it a little bit more. But it's supposed to be just a sketch, so don't overdo it. I hope you found these techniques useful. So again, we have the cirrus clouds, high altitude clouds, and then cumulus clouds, low altitude clouds. Try it out, it's a really fun technique, and thank you for watching. I'll see you soon, and happy sketching!